Incredible journey. Single mom changes millionaire's diapers for 365 days, the heartwarming moment that transformed lives. Sarah Hargrove tightened her grip on the ragged backpack strapped to her shoulder. The colorful graffiti that adorned the crumbling walls of her Detroit neighborhood screamed stories of struggle and survival. But inside her heart, she carried a burning hope. Ethan, her 7-year-old son, filled her world with purpose. She dreamed of moving them far away from the chaos, into a better future. It wasn't just a dream, it was her mission. Life had torn at her, with her minimum wage waitress shifts at the local diner and endless nights cleaning corporate offices. But each sacrifice was worth it for his smile. Then one day, everything shifted. A knock on her door brought Jack Whitaker, the wealthy businessman who owned half the city. His sharp suit and cold demeanor contrasted starkly with Sarah's worn-out jeans and tired eyes. "I need someone to care for my baby girl," he declared, his voice rasping like gravel. The sudden accident that incapacitated him left his daughter Mia motherless, and Sarah hesitated. Could she sacrifice her pride for the chance to earn a decent living? With a deep breath, she agreed. Walking into Jack's mansion felt surreal. Crystal chandeliers glittered overhead, reflecting a life that seemed light years away from her own. Sarah felt out of place, a fish out of water. As she cradled the tiny bundle of Mia, she marveled at the contrast by day, sharing laughter over cereal with Ethan. By night, changing a millionaire's daughter's diapers. The weight of judgment from her neighbors pressed down. "Look at her," they'd whisper. "She thinks she's better than us now." But she wasn't better. She was just trying to survive first. Jack's icy demeanor felt like another weight looming over her. He barely acknowledged her, barking orders like she was just another cog in his machine. Yet with each diaper change, as she sang little songs to Mia, she noticed Jack watching her, a flicker of warmth sparking in his eyes. Perhaps it was empathy he'd long ignored, a part of him awakening that had been buried by relentless ambition. As weeks passed, the bond between Sarah and Mia grew. She found joy in milestones: Mia's first giggle, those tiny little fistfuls of macaroni. Jack saw this dedication, slowly unraveling the layers of his own hardened heart. Yet their connection found turbulence. A charity gala loomed ahead. At this event, the jet-set crowd would be judging, but Sarah knew she had to face them. Invited as Jack's caregiver, she felt the pressure mount. "Before we continue," Jack said, interrupting her anxious thoughts, "I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let us continue. As he spoke, Sarah silently steeled herself. When Jack finally offered her a partnership in his booming business, it felt like the world was opening up a chance to rise above the hardships. But deep down, her past was a specter refusing to let her go, dragging her into a whirlpool of unresolved anger and buried dreams. A familiar face lurked at the edge of the gala, one that could shatter everything she had built. As Sarah's heart raced, she thought, would she seize the opportunity to reshape her life, or would shadows from her past pull her apart from the hope she'd embraced? Sarah felt her breath hitch in her throat as she caught sight of the face from her past. It was Claire, the girl who had once been her best friend and now stood at the gala's entrance, smiling but with a glint in her eye that sent shivers down Sarah's spine. The memories flooded back: years of laughter, secrets shared, and eventually, betrayal. Claire had walked away to a seemingly picture-perfect life, leaving Sarah to navigate the storms alone. Jack continued speaking, oblivious to the turmoil brewing inside her. "And with this partnership, I believe we can make a real difference." His passion was palpable, but all Sarah could focus on was the approaching storm of the evening. The crowd buzzed around her, mingling in extravagant gowns and tailored suits, each person encapsulated in their own world of privilege. Yet here she stood, a caregiver, a former waitress, cradling the future of a millionaire's daughter. And now, an unwelcome shadow from her past. "What are you doing here?" Sarah muttered under her breath, her heart racing as Claire walked closer, her smile widening. It was the smile of someone who wore past judgments like a crown. "Sarah Hargrove? Is that you?" Claire's voice dripped with a mixture of surprise and condescension. "I hardly recognized you in that outfit." The thinly veiled insult cut into Sarah, and she forced a tight-lipped smile. She could feel the eyes of other guests shifting toward her, curious about this surprise reunion. "Just here to help, Claire," Sarah replied, trying to keep her voice steady. She didn't want to give Claire the satisfaction of seeing her ruffled. Focusing on Mia, who was happily gurgling in her arms, Sarah took a deep breath. "I see," Claire said, her tone laced with feigned sweetness. "Is this how you imagined your life would turn out? Caring for someone else as child?" "I mean," she gestured with a delicate hand, "it must be quite the adjustment." Every muscle in Sarah's body tensed at Claire's words. That was the problem. Everything in her life felt like an adjustment. But all she could do was swallow the hurt and hold her head high. She needed to rise above, not only for Ethan but for Mia too. "Things are different now, Claire. This child is everything to me," Sarah replied with determination. Her voice didn't falter, and for a moment, her spark lit up the dim space around them. "Isn't that sweet?" Claire chuckled, crossing her arms with a superiority that clawed at Sarah's patience. "But this is just a temporary gig, right? What will you do when it's over?" Before Sarah could answer, Jack approached them, sensing the tension. "Everything all right here?" he asked, concern etched on his face. "Of course," Claire cooed, her demeanor shifting instantly. "Just catching up, right?" Jack replied, placing a protective arm around Sarah. "Sarah's been a tremendous asset to both Mia and me." His gaze locked onto Claire's, a silent warning not to provoke that as the evening pressed on. Sarah felt a weight lifting. Jack's support was unexpected yet comforting. But the shadows still flitted around her, whispering doubts and fears. Claire would not let her off easy. With the gala bustling, having a refresher on the past looming so near felt like negotiating a tightrope suspended over a storm. When the crowd burst into applause, signaling Jack's important speech was about to start, Sarah looked around the elegantly decorated ballroom. Amid laughter and cheer, where would she find her place? Could she prove Claire and the others wrong? The thought sparked hope but ignited anxiety as well. With endurance well within her heart, she watched as Jack took the stage. He surveyed the crowd and then his eyes found hers. In that moment, a pact was formed not through words, but in a shared understanding of resilience. As he began speaking passionately about his business, Sarah anchored herself in that connection. She was more than a caregiver. She was a mother and a survivor, ready to face whatever awaited her. But what if Claire wasn't the only one watching and waiting for her misstep? An unexpected twist surged through their lives, stirring an even bigger question: what if everything she built with Jack was about to come crashing down? Sarah felt her heart pound as she listened to Jack's words resonate through the room. Each phrase he spoke reminded her of the promise in his eyes, the support he offered as they both navigated the challenges of their lives. But the warmth in her chest began to cool as Claire's sneering gaze lingered, almost as if she were calculating the unraveling of Sarah's life stitch by stitch. When Jack concluded his speech, the applause filled the air, a cacophony of celebration that somehow felt hollow to Sarah. She half listened as everyone praised Jack, their admiration palpable, yet her thoughts churned with unease. Could Claire be a real threat? Or was this just her old fears rekindling? Soon after, Jack descended from the stage, his expression glowing with the joy of success. He approached Sarah, beaming. "Did you see how they received it? I couldn't have done it without your support, Sarah." She forced a smile, trying to mask the tremor in her heart. "You did great, Jack. Truly." Just then, Claire sidled closer, her mirth seemingly unbroken. "Oh, Jack, that was quite the performance." Her tone was sugary sweet, but Sarah could taste the bitterness beneath it. "You must be so proud. But are you sure about your assistant?" Jack frowned, his brow furrowing. "What do you mean?" It's just, well, her qualifications. It's refreshing to have a caregiver who knows what they're doing, I suppose. Claire held her crystal glass, twirling it slowly as if savoring every word that came out. Sarah's cheeks burned hot with indignation, the urge to retaliate rising inside her, but she bit her tongue. Jack stepped protectively closer. Sarah has been invaluable to us, Claire. We've built something real here. Real? Claire's laughter rang out, slicing through the pleasant atmosphere. You mean she's here until you find something better? That's not very solid, is it? Watch it. Jack snapped, and the air crackled with tension. Let it go, Jack, Sarah said softly, placing a hand on his arm. She didn't want him to fight her battles. Not here and not now. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Oh, but I do, Claire retorted, her eyes glinting with pleasure at the chaos she was creating. Tell me, Sarah, what do you plan to do when Jack gets tired of this little arrangement? Play house while waiting for him to find someone who can actually match up? The words stung, curling like smoke into the already turbulent night. Sarah stared down at Mia, her small face beaming up at her, blissfully unaware of the storm swirling around them. That was enough to ground her. With forced steadiness, she met Claire's gaze. What I do know is that what I've built isn't temporary. I take care of Mia, and that matters more than a title or a cashmere sweater. Sometimes that's all it takes. Lovely sentiment, Claire replied, but let's be real. You're in over your head, Sarah. And who's going to look out for Mia when this all falls apart? Enough, Jack interjected, his voice firm. If you think that way, you don't know either of us at all. Silence hung like fog around them, and Sarah could feel a mix of determination and uncertainty ripple inside her. What was she willing to endure for their little family? With Jack standing with her, she realized the position she played in his life had more depth than even Claire could sever. Just then, a commotion stirred in the crowd, distracting everyone momentarily. Sarah turned to see the event's host stumbling as a tray of champagne glasses shattered on the floor. Laughter erupted around them, but beneath the facade, she sensed that more was shifting than the spilled drinks. Jack stepped back, his hands slipping from Sarah's. Stay here, he said. But as he meandered through the crowd to help, Sarah was left alone. Claire took a step closer, her lips curling into a smirk. It's all a facade, Sarah. One wrong move and it could all crumble. In that second, doubt gripped Sarah's heart. Was Claire right? Would everything fall apart? Just as she was lost in thought, a sudden loud crash rang through the hall, tearing her from reverie. All heads turned and Sarah's eyes widened as she caught sight of the source. The night promised to reveal more than she ever expected. Mia let out a soft whimper in her arms, and in that moment, the stakes were raised. She could protect this little life, but was she strong enough to weather the storm brewing beyond her? Her gaze darted from Claire to the unfolding chaos, recognizing she was standing on the brink of something monumental. What lay ahead? Would she have the strength to face it all head-on? The hall was filled with shifting emotions as the uproar from the fallen glasses subsided. Sarah's heart raced, not just from the chaos but from Claire's icy insinuations that still clung to her like a heavy fog. The laughter faded to a dull hum, and all she could focus on was the weight of Mia in her arms. She breathed deeply, trying to ground herself in that moment of uncertainty. Jack returned, a look of concern etched on his face. Is everything all right? He glanced at Mia, then shot a narrowing gaze at Claire. What did she say to you? Sarah offered a shaky smile, her mind still processing the cruel words that had pierced her confidence. It's fine. Nothing I can't handle, she insisted, though her voice betrayed her unease. Don't let her get to you, Jack said, standing tall beside her. It was a comforting alliance, but uncertainty still weighed heavily in the air. Sarah could feel Claire's eyes, like daggers, probing for weaknesses. Let us get Mia some air, Jack suggested, and with some effort, they navigated the edge of the crowd, away from Claire's suffocating presence. The night sky felt more inviting with its vastness, a welcome escape from the enclosed world of the party as they stepped outside. The cool breeze washed over Sarah's flushed cheeks, calming her racing heart. She took a moment to gather her thoughts, holding tightly to Mia's small frame. Catching a glimpse at Jack, she noticed the worry etched across his brow. "Really, Sarah?" he said gently. "I mean it. Claire can be... well, she can be difficult. You don't have to prove anything to her. But what if she's right, Jack?" The questions tumbled out as she spoke, a whirlwind of emotions spilling over. "What if I am just a placeholder here? What if I can't keep doing this?" "Hey!" he interrupted softly. "You're not just a placeholder. You're Mia's anchor, and you're so much more than you give yourself credit for." He placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "This isn't just about me or Claire. It's about you and Mia." His words fluttered in her heart, swirling with sadness and determination. But insecurities lingered like shadows, reminding her of the fragility of her situation. She loved Mia fiercely and wanted to be enough not just for this moment, but for always as the chill of the night settled around them. She stared into Jack's warm eyes, feeling a surge of something deep within her. "I want this to be real, Jack. I don't want to lose either of you." "Then don't let her win. Show her the family we're building," he said firmly, a determined glint in his eyes. Sarah nodded, feeling sparks of hope flicker within her. Yet, even as she embraced that flicker, doubts gnawed at her heart. What if the pressure from Claire became too much? What if Jack's world collided with hers, shattering the fragile bubble they had created? Suddenly, laughter erupted from inside the venue again, unfamiliar voices mingling with the more beautiful echoes of friendship. Sarah glanced back, where Claire stood in the middle of it all, her laughter cutting through the crowd with effortless ease. It was unsettling, the way the tension rolled off her like a well-tailored coat. Turning back to Jack, Sarah found herself hoping for answers, for reassurance that everything would indeed be all right. But the reality of navigating Claire's manipulations loomed larger than ever. A minute passed in silence, the night air thick with unwritten fears and unspoken wishes. "Can we really hold our ground against her?" Sarah finally asked, her voice a whisper. Jack gazed out into the darkened landscape. "We have to. For Mia." Just then, a clenching sensation twisted in her gut. Instead of just facing off against Claire, they had to confront what their growing feelings meant in this complex equation. Each emotional thread tying them together carried the risk of unraveling everything. As anticipation hung in the air, Sarah wondered, was love enough to shield them from the storm ahead? She was ready to face it, heart pounding, but only if Jack felt the same. And in that very moment, a new understanding unfurled within her. She recognized that every step they took from this point bore the weight of choices yet to be made. How would they navigate the impending challenges together? Would their bond grow stronger or fracture under the pressure? The darkness around them felt like a cocoon as Sarah leaned against the railing, taking in the night sky dotted with stars. Maybe it was just the chill in the air, but she felt something shifting inside her, an urge to break free from the chaos swirling around her, and to hold on to what was real. Jack's fingers brushed against hers, a simple gesture that sent warmth blooming in her chest. They stood side by side, shielded from the noise of the party, and for a brief moment, the world around them faded. It was just them and Mia, who had nestled against Sarah, resting peacefully. "Let us talk a bit more," Jack suggested, his voice gentle, yet serious. "What are you really feeling right now?" She took a breath, the air feeling charged with unspoken worries. "I'm scared, Jack. I feel like Claire's watching us, waiting for us to mess up. What if we can't keep this together? What's the worst that could happen?" he asked, turning to face her with an intensity that held her gaze. "If anything, we learn from every challenge. You know that, right? I don't want her to tear apart what we're building. I don't want Mia to see that." The fierce love she felt for her daughter made her voice tremble. She deserves stability and happiness. Jack nodded, absorbing her fears. "She does. And so do you. You're doing this for both of you, Sarah. Every day you're showing Mia what love and family can be. Don't let Claire take that away." Sarah felt a spark of affirmation at his words. A quiet determination began to flicker in her heart. Yes, Claire's words hurt, but they didn't define her. "Okay then, what's our next step?" Sarah asked, casting a hesitant glance back at the party, feeling the negative energy seeping through the walls like a shadow. "Let us go back inside." "We're not backing down," Jack replied, his tone strong and unwavering. "We'll show her we're not afraid." Taking a deep breath, Sarah nodded. As they made their way back inside, a wave of warmth and chatter hit them. The party felt alive again, a stark contrast to the vulnerability they had just shared outside. But as they stepped further into the hall, the atmosphere shifted. Laughter echoed, but it carried an edge and undertone of judgment. Claire spotted them almost immediately, her gaze icy. The tension prickled in the air, charging every corner of the room as Jack and Sarah approached the refreshments. Sarah noticed Claire's friends whispering and looking their way, laughter bubbling up around them. That familiar sense of invasion clawed at her throat. "Focus," she reminded herself. They were here for Mia, and they wouldn't let anyone disrupt that. "Would you like something to drink?" Jack asked, his eyes scanning the crowd. "I think I need something stronger," Sarah replied playfully, trying to lighten the mood, but there was a thread of sincerity beneath it. Just then, Claire walked over, feigning concern, a smirk disguised under her polished smile. "Oh, look who finally decided to join us." Her voice dripped with sarcasm. "Did you enjoy your little break outside?" "Thanks for the warm welcome, Claire," Jack replied, his tone cool. "Always," Claire said, glancing at Mia, who squirmed slightly at the sudden shift. "You know, Sarah, I worry about the kind of influence you might have on Mia." Fury ignited within Sarah. "And I worry about the kind of influence you have on our lives, Claire." Jack stepped slightly closer, a protective stance, but Sarah could feel the resolve in her voice. It was time to stand tall, not just for herself, but for Mia. As Claire's eyes narrowed, a challenge hung in the air between them like a dark storm cloud. Inside, things were heating up, and Sarah could feel it escalating. Every confrontation carries weight, she thought, imagining the impact of their choices. But what if I can turn this around? So much was at stake. Would they emerge stronger from this encounter, or would they fall apart at the seams? And as she looked into Jack's eyes, she felt a sense of unity blooming. Together they could face anything. Or could they? In that moment, an unexpected voice cut through the tension, a mutual acquaintance of theirs stepping forward, oblivious to the brewing storm. "Hey, everyone, who wants to play a game? It'll lighten the mood." As laughter bubbled up once more, Sarah caught Jack's gaze, both of them wondering if this was their cue to defuse the situation or to confront it head-on. But one thing was clear. The calm before the storm had settled, but what lay ahead would decide everything. Would they find strength in vulnerability or lose themselves trying to fight against the tide? The room brightened momentarily with laughter, the unexpected game proposal acting like a soft bomb, easing the tension that had flared. For a heartbeat, Sarah thought maybe they could just blend in, attempt to ignore Claire's jabs, enveloped in this light-hearted distraction. But Claire wasn't done. She stepped into the role of instigator, spinning the narrative to her advantage. "Oh, I hope you're all ready for a little competition. We wouldn't want anyone getting hurt feelings tonight, right?" She threw a gleaming smile towards the crowd, but her eyes locked onto Sarah, slicing through the better spirits that had started to rise. Jack clenched his jaw, clearly bristling against the provocation. "Let us just play," he said, trying to mask the irritation lacing his tone. He shifted closer to Sarah, molding an invisible barrier between them and Claire's toxic grip. Mia stirred against Sarah, sensing the shift in the air. "Mommy, can I play too?" Her wide, innocent eyes flickered between the faces surrounding her, radiating hope and eagerness. "Of course, sweetheart," Sarah said, forcing a smile to hide the unease coiling in her stomach. "Let us have some fun." As the game began, Sarah tried to focus on Mia's laughter. The room split into teams, everyone caught up in the excitement. Yet, Claire remained a shadow, lobbing barbs like verbal grenades whenever Sarah was vulnerable. After each cheerful interaction, Claire's comments would land like anchors, trying to pull Sarah down. "Looks like Mia's activities are a bit too childlike for your taste, huh?" Each jibe cut deeper than the last. Sarah swallowed hard and clenched her fists, fighting the heat of anger flicking through her. What's that supposed to mean? She snapped, without meaning to. Claire feigned confusion, tilting her head just enough to feign innocence. Oh, nothing at all. Just worrying. Jack intervened, placing his hand on Sarah's back. An unspoken "we're together" in this moment. Why don't you find something else to do, Claire? The steadiness in his voice flickered confidence into Sarah's chest. We have enough negativity around here as it is. A ripple of surprise flowed through the crowd. They hadn't expected Jack to step in like that. Sarah's heart swelled, a mix of gratitude and admiration. That surge of unity with him felt electric, pushing back the threat of Claire's knives. I'm just trying to make sure Mia turns out well, Claire replied, her smile tight but eyes hard, showing the cracks in the facade she always wore. Sarah took a step forward, fueled by a newfound strength. And I'm trying to ensure she sees what it means to love and be loved, Claire. She gestured to the laughter around them. That's part of it. Not your judgment. The room quieted. For a brief moment, it was as if everything suspended. The laughter faded, and all that remained was the weight of Sarah's truth hanging in the air. She felt a flood of courage like she had never known. Claire opened her mouth to respond, but Sarah didn't want to wait. Let's just finish this game, Mia. I want to focus on the happy stuff right now. She turned, trying to channel the energy of the room back into joy, folding her emotions like packing away weighty boxes as they resumed playing. Sarah could feel the shift. Some glances exchanged among the onlookers showed solidarity, a sense that maybe they were all tired of the drama. Jack caught her eye, nodding with approval, and she could feel the temperature of hope rising around them once more. Claire remained, simmering at the edge, but for now, she was just a piece of the backdrop, no longer the centerpiece of their reality. Would they really find a way to push past Claire's negativity? Or would her shadow loom too large to escape? Just as Sarah was starting to relax, a loud crash echoed from the other side of the room, sending everyone's attention spiraling. Mia's eyes widened, full of fear. What was that? She whispered. The laughter faded, tension creeping back in like a fog. They all turned to see a part of the space where drinks had spilled. A commotion. Rising. Fear gripped Sarah's heart again as she witnessed Claire move to investigate, predatory and calculated. This confrontation wasn't over yet. Could they navigate the storm ahead? Or would everything they built come crashing down? The sound of the crash echoed in Sarah's ears, muffled but sharp. Clutching Mia's hand tighter, she watched Claire glide confidently towards the messy scene, her excitement palpable as if she had discovered gold. The joyful atmosphere that had just started to bubble up was suddenly clouded with apprehension as Claire knelt down to survey the spill. She was quick to jump into her role as the drama queen. Looks like someone had a little too much to drink, she announced with a mocking lilt, redirecting everyone's attention back to her. Sarah felt her heart sink. Claire thrived on chaos. It was like feeding time for a predator, and now her audience was entranced. Jack clenched his fists at his sides, his brow furrowed in frustration. He turned to Sarah, eyes like steel. Just ignore her, he whispered, his voice low. Let us keep playing. But Sarah could feel the heat rising in her cheeks, and despite Jack's encouragement, she could hardly think straight. Mia, sensing her mother's tension, squeezed her hand. Mommy, I don't like Claire, she whispered, innocence cutting through the thick tension around them. Me neither, sweetheart, Sarah replied, forcing a smile as she tried to keep her voice light. The last thing she wanted was for Claire to ruin this moment for Mia. Why don't we show Claire how to have fun? Sarah suggested, loud enough for everyone to hear, hoping to draw the focus away from Claire's theatrics. Mia's face brightened. Yeah. Let us play the next round. Relief surged through Sarah as the game continued, though Claire's lingering presence felt like an unwelcome shadow. As the teams began to work together, laughter started to trickle back in. She could feel it pulling her. But Claire wasn't done yet. I'd play too if I could, but it seems like some of us can't handle the pressure, Claire called out, her voice dripping with sarcasm. For a moment, Sarah felt the urge to retaliate, to strike back with words that echoed in her mind. But instead, she took a deep breath, channeling her energy toward Mia's laughter. "All right, everyone. Next round is the balloon toss," Sarah shouted. The buzz in the room shifted toward her, people relieved to be distracted. As the balloons flew through the air, Sarah had a fleeting moment of hope. Maybe they could keep the fun alive, even without letting Clara's negativity seep in. But then she saw Claire inching her way back to them, the calm before the storm as she picked up the fallen balloons, a twisted smile on her face. "Guess what? I'll be the judge," Claire announced, her tone dripping with an insincerity that made Sarah's stomach churn. "Let us see if you can take feedback without getting your feelings hurt." Anxiety condemned Sarah to a brief silence. The laughter around her felt like it was choking under Claire's looming threat. Jack glanced at her, concern etched on his face. "Let her talk," he murmured, holding her gaze. "It doesn't matter. We're here for Mia." At that moment, Sarah realized something vital. This wasn't just about her fight with Claire. It was about Mia growing up in a space full of joy, not spite. She needed both of them to stand tall against Claire's relentless wave. "Okay then, Claire," Sarah said, her heart steadying. "Let us have your judgment. But remember, we're creating memories here." The room hummed with anticipation. Competing against Claire felt like summoning a storm, but with Jack's support and Mia's laughter as her lighthouse, Sarah was ready. Just as that thought settled in her mind, another crash resonated, a different kind of turmoil as someone bumped into a table, sending plates scattering. Sarah's heart dropped again. How had it come to this? Would Claire find a way to twist this incident into her next groundwork for drama? As the crowd gasped, all eyes turned to Sarah, and she could sense another storm brewing. Would she stand her ground this time, or would she once again be swept into Claire's chaos? Sarah's gaze flickered between the scattered plates and Claire's predatory smile. Panic gripped her, but she fought to keep her composure. Mia's small hand in hers felt like an anchor, grounding her in the chaos. "It's just a mess," she told herself. But the past few minutes echoed in her mind, pessimism creeping in like an unwelcome draft in winter. "Everyone, it's okay," she called out, her voice stronger than she felt. "Let's just clean this up and keep having fun." The tension in the room began to crackle. A few guests started to lift plates, smiling awkwardly as they tried to contribute to the solution. Sarah held her breath, hoping this brief moment of unity would push Claire back into the shadows. "Wow, Sarah, you really think that's gonna make it all better?" Claire hollered, crossing her arms. "You think they aren't just waiting to see you crash and burn?" Sarah shot Claire a quick glance. She could feel her heart racing. The petty comment stung, but she was tired of letting it get to her. Claire thrived on her reactions, feeding off the drama like it was oxygen. "Anyone can make a mess." "Claire?" Sarah said, turning to the crowd, trying to ignore Claire's disdainful glare. "But it takes a team to clean up and keep the laughs alive." Jack stepped in, giving her a nod of encouragement. "Let us help Sarah out. Who wants to toss the balloons while we clean?" Mia's enthusiasm was infectious. "Me, I want to help," she chimed, pulling at Sarah's hand. Sarah felt warmth bloom in her chest as Mia jumped in with the others, all eager to play their part. Laughter quickly returned, and it washed over her, momentarily drowning out Claire's negativity. The sound filled the room, transforming it back into a safe space, where joy reigned over chaos. But Claire wasn't done yet. "You think this will win you points? I got news for you, drama queen." Claire's tone sharpened, a sword drawn ready for the kill. "Claire, stop," Jack boomed, the frustration palpable. "Why do you have to make everything a competition?" For a split second, surprise flickered across Claire's face. The crowd was caught in a tense silence again. The joy momentarily halted. Then Sarah saw a shift. Claire's smile faltered, crumbling under Jack's solid gaze. It was a powerful moment, and Sarah held on to it. "Because it's more fun that way," Claire shot back, but there was a crack in her bravado. "Is it?" Jack's voice was steady. "Your fun comes at the cost of everyone else? No one needs that kind of negativity here. You're better than this." A murmur rippled through the crowd, eyes darting between Jack and Claire. Sarah felt a rising tide of hope. Maybe they could push back against Claire's darkness. Sarah took a deep breath, emboldened by Jack's words. We're here to have fun. All of us. But that means we lift each other up, not tear each other down. Claire's expression shifted as she took this in. The tension was electric, a sudden shockwave that sent everyone's heart racing. Would Claire deflate or explode? Mia tugged on Sarah's shirt again, her little voice soft yet steady. Mommy, why can't we all just play together? A smile broke through Sarah's anxiety, warming her from the inside out. Exactly, sweetheart, Sarah said, squatting down to Mia's height. No one has to be alone. We're better when we work together. At that moment, Sarah felt the strength of the crowd behind her, supportive and eager. But would it be enough to quell Claire's fire? Or would this just be the beginning of a bigger fight? Claire's eyes narrowed, her next move still shrouded in mystery. Sarah's heart pounded, knowing the storm was far from over. What would Claire do next? The air turned thick with anticipation, the silence wrapping around them like a tight band. Everyone held their breath, unsure of what would come next. Sarah could feel it. The weight of Claire's stare, heavy with unspoken words. A hushed whisper skittered through the crowd as they sensed the shift. The electric tension settling in. Mia, oblivious to the swirling storm between the adults, began bouncing with excitement, urging her mother to join her. Let us play, Mommy. Let's toss the balloons. Her innocence brought a wave of tenderness flooding into Sarah's heart. How could something so simple be so pure? Sarah nodded, forcing her smile to hold the collective energy of the room. Okay, let us have some fun, she shouted, her eyes locking onto Mia's gleaming ones. She picked up a couple of balloons and tossed them into the air, watching as they floated, bouncing playfully, just like the mood she wanted to enforce. But Claire wasn't finished. You think this little show will change anything? She sneered, her voice cutting through the air like a knife. Jack took a step forward, his expression fierce. Enough, Claire. No one wants your negativity here. His voice boomed like thunder, a stunning contrast to Sarah's softer tone. Sarah felt a spark ignite in the crowd. People nodded in agreement, murmuring amongst themselves as they cast supportive glances at her and Jack. This moment felt pivotal. It was a stand, a collective decision to not let Claire's darkness dim their light. Maybe we should all take a moment and decide if we want life to be a competition, Sarah called, her voice summoning strength from somewhere deep within. We can be better than that. We should lift each other up, not tear each other down. The words hung in the air. Claire's expression faltered again, the masks she wore slipping, revealing something beneath. Surprise? Hurt? Fear? It was hard to tell, but in that moment, Sarah saw a glimpse of vulnerability. Then Claire's lips twisted into a smirk, one that sent a chill down Sarah's spine. Oh please, you think I'm scared just because you have a few supporters? She stepped forward, invading Sarah's space, the shadows returning as the warmth of camaraderie began to dim. You're just a mother playing dress-up with this growing crowd, trying to prove a point that nobody cares about. Sarah felt her breath catch in her chest, the cruel words slicing through the moment like broken glass. But there was something stronger lurking within her now, the realization that she had people in her corner. Jack, Mia, and the others. We care, she said softly but firmly, looking into the faces around her. We care. Because together we're better. You're better. Claire's face contorted, a mixture of anger and confusion swirling within her. The balloon she had once clutched fell to the ground, forgotten. Let us all take a breath, Jack interjected, his voice soothing like a balm. Join us in the fun, Claire. You might find it more rewarding than you think. The crowd hesitated for a moment, eyes darting back and forth, waiting for Claire's response. Would she storm off, or was there a flicker of curiosity in her expression? Could she be tempted to lay down her weapons and join them? In that heartbeat of suspense, a thought crossed Sarah's mind. Maybe the battle wasn't just with Claire. Perhaps there were deeper layers to explore. How could she connect with someone so closed off? As the moment stretched, Sarah felt herself stepping forward, an internal urge igniting her resolve. But was she completely ready to confront Claire's darkness, or would it consume her instead? The air crackled with uncertainty as they all waited for Claire's next move. Would she choose the path of unity, or would she remain lost in her own world of isolation? Amid the palpable tension, Claire hesitated. The room was thick with the breath of reluctant anticipation as her icy demeanor flickered. Sarah could see the tiny cracks forming in Claire's armor, and that realization sparked something deep in her heart, a well of empathy. "Claire," Sarah began softly, stepping closer, her voice steady but gentle. "You don't have to be alone in this. We can all stand together, but you have to let the walls down even just a little." For a heartbeat, the crowd waited, collectively holding its breath. Claire's gaze darted around, the uncertainty flickering in her eyes seemed to grow, revealing a vulnerability she often disguised behind condescension and pride. There was a moment, just a moment, where Sarah believed she could reach her. "I've seen how cold it can get when all you want is acceptance," Claire said slowly, her tone dropping. For an instant, she looked like a stranger drowning in insecurities, and Sarah thought she might be able to anchor her. "Exactly," Jack chimed in, stepping forward, an unyielding presence beside Sarah. "We're all here for the same reason, to create joy. Maybe that starts with letting go of the negativity we hold on to." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. Sarah noticed that Claire's friends exchanged hesitant glances, their expressions wavering. Had they sensed the shift too? Mia squeezed Sarah's hand. "Can we all play together now?" she asked, her innocence shining like a beacon in the dim light of conflict. "It'll be fun." "Fun?" Claire echoed, almost incredulously, pulling herself back into the present. "Is it that simple? Just fun?" The vulnerability in her gaze faltered under layers of suspicion she had built up for so long. "What if it's stronger than that? What if I let my guard down and it all falls apart again?" Sarah took a step closer, bringing her hand to rest over her heart. "It's never as weak as we think. We all need connection. To be stronger together doesn't mean you have to lose yourself. It means you discover more of who you are. Laughter doesn't just lighten our hearts, it weaves us into a fabric of community." The words landed, and Sarah could see something shift within Claire. Her shoulders seemed to relax, just a fraction. "Maybe your facade is just an armor you think protects you," Jack said, his voice warm. "But the truth is, vulnerability can forge deeper connections than any arrogance ever could." Claire launched a defensive response, but the fight had gone out of her. Her gaze fell to the floor as if she were unraveling under the weight of truth they all shared. I don't want to be the villain," she admitted, her voice barely a whisper. I feel like I'm losing everything." In that moment of raw honesty, Sarah's heart soared. "None of us has to be alone in the fight. Let's hold on to each other instead." The tension dissipated like steam unraveling in the air, and for the first time that night, genuine laughter bubbled within the walls of the ballroom. Laughter as a bridge, laughter as healing. One by one, those around joined in, creating a wave of unified joy that washed over Claire, too, a hesitant smile creeping across her lips. Moments later, Claire took a deep breath, the weight of bitterness melting under the warmth surrounding her. "Okay," she said, her grin tentative but promising. "Let us really have some fun together." The energy surged back, and relieved cheers enveloped the three of them, Sarah, Jack, and Claire. They embraced and returned to mix with the crowd, letting go of the shadows that had danced amongst them. Sarah felt light, a radiant glow breaking free as laughter filled the air again. With Mia clasped in her arms, Sarah gazed at Jack, feeling a sense of triumph swell within. They had overcome the storm. Together, Sarah whispered, and Jack replied with a nod, his eyes sparkling with pride. As the night unfolded, every moment became a part of their shared story, one where children's laughter echoed, friendships blossomed, and joy coalesced into something profound. It wasn't just the end of a conflict. It was the birth of understanding, acceptance, and community. Now, it was time to revel in this transformation. No longer would shadows from the past haunt their future. Now they had each other, and that would always be enough. As the final echoes of laughter filled the room, it wasn't merely a celebration. It was a promise. It was a new beginning for Sarah, Jack, Claire, and most importantly, for Mia, a life lit by hope, where love would always triumph over fear. This is the moment to take action. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories that inspire transformation like this. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help spread the joy. Comment below your thoughts and feelings about this ending. You want to share your reactions. Don't wait not even one more second. Share this moment, this video, with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. We're all in this together.